Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, we'll kick things off talking about Nintendo Switch emulation on PC with Yuzu, and Yuzu just got a brand new update. So these changes were previously in the early access version of Yuzu, and now they've been moved over to the mainline build. As of 16.26 here, it fixes Super Mario RPG colors that were not rendering correctly on NVIDIA GPUs. And it also fixes a regression in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet where geometry would randomly disappear. And as of mainline 16.27, it appears they've expanded on something that's already been implemented. It says here, added create game shortcut item to Windows version of Yuzu. Users can now create shortcuts for games on Windows versions of Yuzu. Item can be found when user right-clicks on the game in the games list. Now, we've talked about this feature before, and Yuzu did feature it in their progress report, and here's the feature in use. You can see create shortcut and add to desktop and add to applications menu. However, now they've improved this. They've added games in the app list for Windows with a question to start the game in full screen. And here's the new feature in action. So when creating a shortcut, there's a dialog box here that asks, do you want to launch the game in full screen? Yes or no? Now, I primarily use Linux. I'm not using Windows, and if you are on Windows, check this one out and let me know how it is. Next up here, we're talking about the NES homebrew scene with the 2023 NESDev competition, or NESDev Compo 23, or NESDev Compo Game Jam. Anyways, here it's a competition for NES homebrew games, and the submissions just closed. You can check out every game if you want. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. In fact, we talked about Moshlift yesterday. There's 24 submissions in total, and first place is taking home $512. Voting is currently open for 13 more days here, at least at the time of filming. I'll drop a link in the description below, and I do recommend checking it out. You may find your new favorite game here. And speaking about your new favorite game, next up we're talking about something that might not be your new favorite game, but it is an interesting concept, or rather a controversial concept. The game is called Zarathustra. I probably mispronounced that one. It's available on itch.io, and AI has a heavy hand in creating this game. So the developer says it's a classic point-and-click adventure with inventory and dialogue puzzles, but currently only day 1 is available, about 1 hour of gameplay. It serves as an introduction in the wider narrative. The following days will be released if people show interest in this project. And most of the art and voice comes from AI. The game is free, and day 1 here is about 100 megabytes. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Next up here, we're quickly talking about Google, YouTube, and Firefox. And if this news is true, it's really not a good look for Google. Apparently here, YouTube has started to artificially slow down video load times for Firefox users using the following code. At a high level here, it's basically a 5-second delay. Now, unfortunately, manipulation like this is completely not unheard of. I mean, earlier on this year, Twitter was slowing down access to hyperlinks that led people off their platform. They might still be doing it. To be honest with you, I'm kind of curious as to why Google is doing this. I mean, on one hand, you'd think they'd want people on their platform as quick as possible. On the other hand, though, maybe they want to drive people to use Google Chrome, considering Firefox does still support AdBlock. But moving on, and we're talking about one of my favorite Linux distributions here, EndeavourOS, which is built on Arch. And EndeavourOS just got a very interesting update. So they're calling this one the Galileo release, and as of this release, XFCE is replaced by KDE as the default desktop environment for live environments and also offline installs. Furthermore, the community editions are no longer available as installation options, and they've also removed the ability to install more than one desktop environment during the initial install. Now, obviously, since this is Linux, you can just configure everything to your heart's content after the initial install. And since EndeavourOS is a rolling update, if you're currently using EndeavourOS, just make sure to keep it up to date and you have this release. Moving on, and we're still on Linux here, and we're talking about Polychromatic, which is an open source RGB lighting management front-end application to customize open Razer peripherals on Linux. So version 0.8.3 just released, and they added support for the Razer Black Widow V4 Pro, Razer Synosa V2, and support for the wheel effect. Next up, if you're a fan of Maniac Mansion on the NES, you may like this piece of news. Apparently a brand new Easter egg for this game was just discovered. So this Easter egg has remained hidden for a little over 35 years and requires a pretty convoluted series of steps in order to activate it, which is probably why it's remained hidden. And it says, Ron Baldwin has done a killer job in adapting this game for use on the NES, so please tell all of your friends to run out and buy it. Unfortunately, by the time this Easter egg is discovered, it is no longer for sale on the market. Moving on, and we're talking about the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and early test results here are a little bit controversial. I'll drop a link to this tweet in the description below. They say performance is great, the best they've seen so far from any Android SoC. It's 13% faster than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. However, the power consumption has gone up 28%. And efficiency down 11%, which is not good. And on top of that, if we take a look at the details here, and instead of comparing it with the 8 Gen 2, we compare it with the 8 Gen 2 Plus. Yes, the 8 Gen 3 score is higher, but the average power per watt is also considerably higher, and the efficiency is also lower. It doesn't really seem as much of an upgrade as Qualcomm is leading us to believe. In fairness though, that test was from one device, and that device might not be optimized to extract all of the performance out of the chip. Qualcomm is saying it's a 30% CPU performance improvement and 20% improved power efficiency. And for the GPU here, it's a 25% faster graphics rendering and 25% improved GPU power efficiency. So I am very curious to see what other devices test at. And I'm also very curious to see the temperature this chip is going to run at. I have a feeling it's going to be a hot one. Next up, this is a real quick one. We're talking about Xbox India, and this news does not impact me whatsoever, but I was pinged about it a whole bunch, so we might as well share it. Xbox has started rolling out a UPI payment option on Xbox Store in India. That's the news. Next up here, we're talking about something that may upset a whole bunch of people, and it's about EA. This person says they typed in STFU in chat. STFU stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano. Apparently they got banned and they're claiming their money was stolen, and this is the screenshot they shared. Hi, it looks like your EA account broke the rules in our positive play charter. Your EA account is banned, and here's why. While reviewing your account, we saw in Apex Legends you typed STFU. EA then goes on to say, we consider this to be harassment, and here is the kicker. You can no longer play EA games on this account. We have removed your payment details from our system so you won't get any more charges from us. So all it took was STFU, and all of their games, all of their DLC, everything they paid for is no longer accessible. Unfortunately, I don't know the history between this person and EA. I don't know if there's a temporary ban in place prior, or possibly a mute prior. If this is EA's first interaction here, and this is the result, you may want to be careful if you're playing EA games online and using the chat feature. So here's where the puzzle pieces are not quite lining up for me, and this is right from EA's help section on their website. They appeared to have skipped over suspension and went straight to ban. A ban is when we remove access to a game, part of a game, or your EA account for an extended period of time. We'll normally ban your EA account due to repeated or extreme violations of our terms of service or rules of conduct. Account bans are typically permanent. So let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Does the punishment fit the crime? Is the punishment too harsh? Or do you think there's more to this story that's not being told? And speaking about stories, last up here we're talking about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and UltraCam. UltraCam is a mod for PC, and if you're into cinematics, you may be a fan of this mod. If you are curious as to what this mod can do, I'll drop a link to the Game Banana site in the description below so that you can take a look and learn more. There's also a YouTube video here showcasing a trailer that was created with this mod. I'll drop a link to that one in the description below as well. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.